and all, I'm Alexis, aka the Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to kind of do a video all about some of the international editions of books I have. One, I do want to apologize for how late this video is going up. I just have not had a lot of time to film this week. If you guys follow my Instagram stories, you'll know I was on vacation over the weekend with my mom, so I didn't get to film then. The other thing I do want to mention, most of these are either going to be Japanese editions of books I have or books that I got from the UK. I live in the United States, so obviously the UK editions are international to me. But I actually do plan probably next month or maybe in January doing an entire video just on like UK versus US editions, which ones I like more. So I'm not showing you all of my UK editions, just a couple of the ones that I really like. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first one I'm going to mention is one of the ones in the thumbnail. And that is the Spanish version of the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which is obviously Harry Potter y la Piedra Filosofal, which is, again, the Spanish edition of this illustrated edition. I do have quite a few books in Spanish, but the covers aren't different, so I'm not going to show you most of those. But I did want to show you this one. This was a Christmas gift last year, and I love this edition, like, in general, because it's really beautiful. Harry Potter is a familiar story. Like, it was one of the first books I actually read in Spanish, because I knew a lot of what was going on. So it was easy for me to, in my head, translate and be like, oh, this is what they're talking about. But obviously, these editions are beautiful. You guys don't need me to tell you that. But yeah, I figured I would show you guys this one as basically representative of the Spanish editions I have. The next two I'm going to mention are UK editions. The first one I'm going to mention is Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I will put up a picture of the American edition of Vicious. There's two real reasons I really love this cover. The first is that this is such a graphic picture to me. It's so striking because of the like color tone system of just the black, the red, and the white. And also too, when I look at this cover, it makes me think of comic book superheroes, which isn't what this book is about, but this book is pitched as a book about supervillains. And so in my head, I still make that association. And so for that, like, I feel like this cover fits that description really well. The other reason I really like this cover is because for the longest time, I couldn't tell what actually was on the American version. I had never actually seen it in person for the longest time until I actually went to a V.E. Schwab signing, and I literally couldn't tell what this was. Like, I knew it was a person standing on a balcony, but like, I thought the hair of the person on this was like a deformed head. So like, for the longest time, I couldn't tell what it was because I'd never seen it in person, and this was such a more easily identifiable object for me, so that was part of the reason that I love this. But I also just think that this is such a graphic looking cover. And I'm upset that they're obviously not going to keep these covers for when Vengeful comes out, but I still think this is an awesome cover. The next one I'm going to mention is the UK version of Release by Patrick Ness. This cover is a work of art. And I think that the US cover is pretty too, but I don't think the US cover is nearly as breathtaking as this cover. I like it because it's minimalistic, but it also has this like teal and like dark blue color scheme that's absolutely beautiful. But I also feel like this cover of the story fits the story so much better than the US edition. I feel like this really represents both the duality that the main character feels, but also the like, this book feels more magical to me, which is an element of this story. So like, I absolutely love this edition. Not to mention it came out earlier in the UK, so I wanted it for that reason anyway, but I genuinely think this is one of my favorite book covers of all time. It's just so pretty. It's so gorgeous. The next one I'm going to mention is actually the Australian edition, I believe, of this series, and that is the Australian covers of the Porcelain series by Garth Nix. Rewind to last December when my brother bought me the wrong book for Christmas. He was supposed to get me the first one, which is Sabriel, and he accidentally got me the third book in the series. But I do want to collect these Australian editions because they're gorgeous. Like, if you compare these editions to the like current US editions, these are so much better. They're so much more dynamic. And like, I don't usually like people on the cover, but these are just like, there's stuff going on and there's magic. And like, I don't know, these are just so much more pleasing for me to look at than the US ones. The US ones are just really boring to me, so that's why I want these editions. I haven't actually read this series yet. I'm waiting until I can get them, but I just really love the Australian covers of the series. They're gorgeous. Alright, so the next ones I'm going to show you guys are the Japanese editions I have. I would like to own more Japanese editions of books, but unfortunately because I live in the US, they're expensive. So I splurge every once in a while and get myself one of these. The first one is the other one in the thumbnail, and it is the Japanese edition of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Of the Harry Potter books that I've read, this is my favorite one, hence why I got this one, but also because once you move past this in the series, they start coming out in like 2 books per book. So like Goblet of Fire is 2 books, and so it was like, that's expensive. But obviously you can tell that this is the Japanese edition where it has, you know, the katakana to spell out all of the words. And the illustrations in these are totally different, so I figured I would show you guys some of this. So obviously you can see it's all in actual Japanese. The Japanese edition does have chapter headers like the American edition does, but they are very different than they are in the US editions or in the UK editions. So this is the chapter header for chapter 13, which is Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw. So it's obviously meant to be a Quidditch match. It's very different looking, as you can obviously tell. The illustrations are totally different. They have a totally different vibe than the UK/US ones do. This is the Patronus chapter where Harry first summons his Patronus. So yeah, you can tell that the illustrations are very different in these editions. But I also just really love this, and I like going through this and trying to be able to pick out what little Japanese I can. But yeah, so I think I would eventually like to own all of the books in the series in this edition, just because these are actually really nice too. And the covers are made with like this really weird material, but it's like really nice, and so yeah. Really like these a lot. The next one I'm going to mention is actually the Japanese edition of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, which is a very tiny little book. But I personally really love the Japanese cover. I like the Japanese cover more than I like the US/UK editions of the series. I don't think this really reflects the series in any way. I don't think you could look at this and be like, yeah, I see Throne of Glass, but I can't deny that the cover is really gorgeous. And I personally am not a fan of the traditional covers of the series, mainly because in the editions, Selena is like a blue-gray, her skin is like a blue-gray color, and that's like, I never pictured her in the book to look like the girl on the cover at all. Like honestly, I think in my mind she always looked more like this than she did like what's on the US/UK covers. So I just really like this. I think this is such a dynamic looking cover. And again, you know, it's like a pocketbook size, which I think is actually really like adorable. And I would be interested in, especially if they come out with one for Arrow Fire, I definitely would be interested in picking that up because you guys know how much I absolutely adore that book. So I do have this edition. The last one I'm going to mention is the Japanese edition of A Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin. This is actually book 1, so A Game of Thrones in the Song of Ice and Fire series. They do have the entire series in this really manga-esque kind of editions, and I would like to get all of them, but they're super expensive. But I highly encourage you to go check out the other editions because the artwork on them is really beautiful. And the artwork is all like super busy to a degree, and they're all this very much this Japanese style of art. But they're so cool. The one with Daenerys has like the dragons on it. And obviously this is supposed to be Jon Snow because you can see our boy Wolf over here. So yeah, I would really like to get all the editions in these ones too because I just think that they're so pretty. And this is again such a more dynamic cover than the traditional minimalist new print style of the Game of Thrones series. Like, this looks pretty generic. This looks pretty freaking cool. So I really love the Japanese editions of these books, and again, I would really like to get the rest of the books in this. There's one that I know has Daenerys on it, and then I think there's one with Sansa and one with Arya that I've seen, but these are so cool, and I definitely would like to get more of them. Alrighty guys, so those were a couple of my international editions of books. Again, like I said, there's definitely about 6 or 7 that I would like to film a like US versus UK one where I talk about like books that I like the UK version more or books that I like the US version of. So these are just a couple from the video that I eventually will film on that topic. But I would absolutely love to know if you guys have any other international editions. If you guys are from the UK, have you bought any US editions of books because you wanted to cover more? I would absolutely love to know that. I upload videos on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'll see you guys soon with another one. Bye!